What's up, guys? So mealworms are known for their ability to eat almost anything, right? But here's the crazy question. What would happen if you put 10,000 mealworms on a massive, juicy watermelon? How quickly would they completely devour it and turn it into mush, despite its huge size? Yeah, I honestly have no idea. So that's exactly why I went out and bought 10,000 meal. This is going to be one of the most disgusting yet satisfying experiments I've ever done on this channel. But before we unleash these worms on the watermelon, I want to test them on some other things first, to show you just how powerful 10,000 tiny mouths working together can be. Trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to be amazed at what these little creatures can do. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so before we go straight to the watermelon, I want to do a quick warm-up test. I've got this piece of fresh bread right here, and I'm just going to toss it into the container to see how quickly these mealworms react. Oh wow, look at that! The mealworms are wasting absolutely no time. They're already swarming all over this piece of bread within seconds. If you pay attention to this specific area right here, you can literally see them starting to devour a massive hole right through the center of the bread. They're like tiny little drills just burrowing through. Okay, so I'm going to leave this on time-lapse for a few hours and show you what happens. Dude, after only 4 hours, this bread has been completely hollowed out. It's just filled with mealworms and has holes everywhere. The worms literally ate through this thing like it was nothing. But honestly, this is nothing compared to the other time-lapses I'm going to show you. We're building up to the ultimate watermelon destruction, so stick around because it gets way more insane. For this next test, I wanted to try something harder and crunchier. I've got a full-size carrot right here. Carrots are pretty dense and tough, so this should be interesting. Let me just place this carrot right in the middle of all these hungry worms and see what they do with it. Okay, the mealworms are definitely curious about this carrot. They're starting to climb all over it, trying to find the best spots to start eating. I can already see some of them taking little bites out of the sides. Time to set up the time-lapse camera and watch the magic happen. This is actually really cool. The mealworms are working together to eat away at this carrot from multiple angles. You can see them creating these grooves and channels all along the surface. What's fascinating is how they seem to prefer certain parts of the carrot over others. They're really going crazy on the thinner end, where it's easier to chew through. After about 8 hours, look at this. The carrot has so many bite marks and chunks missing from it. The worms have eaten probably about 30 to 40% of this entire carrot. You can see where they've completely eaten through to create these holes and cavities. If they can do this much damage to a hard carrot, imagine what they'll do to a soft, juicy watermelon. But we're not there yet. I've got more tests to show you first. Alright, for test number 3, I'm going with something juicy. I've got a fresh orange right here. Now, oranges are interesting because they have that tough outer peel, but inside they're super soft and filled with juice. This should give us a good preview of how the worms might handle the watermelon's tough outer rind. Let me cut this orange in half to expose the inside and then drop it in with the worms. Oh man, the mealworms are going absolutely crazy for this orange. I think they can smell all that citrus and sugar. They're flooding toward it from every direction. Let's watch this on time-lapse. Yo, this is insane. The mealworms are focusing all their energy on the soft, juicy inside of the orange. You can literally see the orange flesh disappearing as thousands of worms chew away at it. What's really cool is watching the juice drip down as they eat. The worms are not only eating the flesh, but also drinking up all that orange juice. They're getting a full meal and hydration at the same time. By hour 3, the inside of the orange is almost completely hollowed out. The worms have eaten so much that all that's left are some pulp and the white pith parts that they don't seem to like as much. After 10 hours, let me show you what's left. Holy crap, the orange has been absolutely demolished. The entire inside is gone, completely eaten. All that remains is this thin shell of orange peel with some white pith attached. The worms ate approximately 80% of this entire orange. Now I'm getting really excited to see what they'll do to the watermelon. For this test, I wanted to try something really soft and juicy, even more so than the orange. I've got a big, ripe tomato right here. Tomatoes are mostly water, just like watermelons, so this should be a perfect test to see how the mealworms handle super watery fruits. Let me cut this tomato to expose the inside. Oh dude, the reaction is immediate. The mealworms are swarming this tomato faster than anything else I've tested so far. They can definitely sense all that moisture and they're going crazy for it. Time-lapse. Time. This is honestly disgusting but also incredibly satisfying to watch. The mealworms are eating this tomato so fast. You can see the tomato literally melting away as thousands of tiny mouths devour it. What's really gross is how the tomato juice is mixing with all the worms, creating this nasty soup. But the worms don't care, they're in heaven right now. Within just 2 hours, the tomato is already half gone. The worms are eating it faster than anything else because it's so soft and watery. They're barely having to work to chew through it. After only 5 hours, let me show you what's left. Are you serious? The tomato is completely gone. All that's left is some tomato skin and seeds. The worms ate an entire tomato in just 5 hours. This is a great sign for our watermelon experiment. If they can destroy a tomato this fast, the watermelon is in serious trouble. Alright guys, I think it's finally time for the main event. Okay everyone, this is what we've been building up to. I've got this absolutely massive watermelon right here. This thing is huge, probably around 15 to 20 pounds of pure, juicy watermelon. Now, before I can feed this to the 10,000 mealworms, I need to cut into it to expose that beautiful red flesh inside. The worms need something to grab onto and start eating. Let me grab this knife and make some nice cuts in the top. Oh man, look at how red and juicy this watermelon is. It's absolutely perfect. You can see the juice already dripping out from where I cut it. This watermelon is probably like 92% water, which means the mealworms are going to get super hydrated while feasting on this thing. Now I need to get a much bigger container because this watermelon is way too big for the regular one. Let me transfer all 10,000 mealworms into this larger container along with the watermelon. Perfect. Everything is set up, the 10,000 mealworms are in position, and the watermelon is ready. Let's do this. Oh my gosh. The mealworms immediately know something amazing just entered their world. They're starting to move toward the watermelon from all sides. It's like watching a slow-motion stampede. Within just minutes, hundreds of worms have already climbed onto the watermelon and started eating the exposed red flesh. This is happening way faster than I expected. Alright, so in the first hour you can see the worms completely covering all the areas where I made cuts. The bright red watermelon is just swarming with thousands of meal. It literally looks alive because there's so much movement. By hour 2, the worms have started creating visible damage. That beautiful bright red color is already starting to fade and turn darker as the worms chew away at it. You can see them making these tiny little holes all across the surface. Hour 3 is where things get really interesting. The worms have eaten so much of the surface that they're starting to dig deeper. You can see them creating these crater-like holes where they're burrowing into the watermelon flesh. What's really cool is watching the juice drip down as they eat. The worms are literally drinking the watermelon juice while eating the flesh. They're getting the ultimate feast right now. By hour 5, the watermelon is looking rough. That bright red color is almost completely gone, replaced by this darker, mushier appearance. The worms have created so many holes that the watermelon surface looks like Swiss cheese. Hour 8 is when things get absolutely disgusting. The watermelon has gone from fresh and beautiful to completely nasty and rotten looking. But here's the thing, the worms are still eating. They haven't slowed down at all. Look at this section right here. The worms have eaten so deep that you can actually see massive cavities inside the watermelon. Some worms are completely inside these holes, eating from within. Around hour 10, I noticed something really interesting. The worms started attacking the green rind, the tough outer shell of the watermelon. They're actually chewing through it to create new entry points. You can see them working together, taking tiny bites until they break through the hard exterior. By hour 12, the watermelon barely looks like a watermelon anymore. It's more like a collapsing pile of mush with thousands of worms crawling all over it. The structural integrity is completely gone, but I kept the time-lapse going overnight. After a full 24 hours, let me show you the final results of what 10,000 mealworms can do to a watermelon. Okay guys, it's been 24 hours since I put this watermelon in with the 10,000 meal. Let me carefully examine what's left of this thing. Oh my gosh. First of all, this smells absolutely horrendous. But look,